X-Men versus Avengers. Will this be the delivery of the X-Men in the MCU? This will be too much cinema. Ha ha ha. I'm Mr. Screen, and welcome to the channel so we can talk a little about the Marvel Universe. Ha ha ha. Oh, don't pay attention to my jokes. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not. Ha ha ha. Oh. The question that everybody wants to hear: how will the X-Men be inserted into the MCU? X-Men versus Avengers. We've been asking ourselves this question for a long time, and over the years, it seems like it's getting closer and closer, and yet so distant at the same time. So I've been collecting some information based on my research and some of Kevin Feige's words. Let's get into a very interesting debate. So click on the like button, and without further ado, let's get straight to the point. In November last year, Kevin Feige teased some future plans for the X-Men in the MCU. Now it seems that due to X-Men 97, the hype has increased even more. So here first, let's base some things that Kevin Feige said. Like on November 13th, he said the X-Men will arrive in the MCU soon, but it was not clear what that means. Ever since the Walt Disney Company purchased 20th Century Fox, consolidating almost all of the outstanding Marvel film rights under one roof, fans have been excited to see these characters, especially the X-Men, incorporated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We know this is going to happen, but we don't know much about when it will happen, other than Kevin Feige saying soon. Speaking to Entertainment Tonight shortly before the premiere of The Marvels, Kevin Feige spoke a little about the future of the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he indicated that the X-Men would be joining the live-action franchise soon, saying, "I don't know if it's delicate. It's super exciting, but the X-Men are the most solid, rich, excellent concepts and characters out there. There's the return of the animated series next year, which we're very excited about, and I saw some new final episodes today that really bring it back to the core of who the X-Men are and the soap opera that these characters represent. And then in live action, people will see it, maybe soon." But what exactly does logo mean in this context? It could be argued that a few hours after Kevin Feige said this, the statement became reality, but I'm not sure all fans would agree. But then we have an interesting point. Did this have an influence on the Wonders? Then you ask yourself, how do the X-Men influence the Marvels? If you've seen the Marvels, then you know that the X-Men have a role to play, however small in this story. Marvel's end credits scene includes Monica Rambeau ending up in an alternate universe where she is rescued by the X-Men. We see Lyanna Lynch appear, playing a version of the mutant binary, and Kelsey Grammer reprises her role as Beast from the Fox X-Men films. When Kevin Feige said people would see the X-Men soon, he could literally have been talking about the scene. But this isn't the first time we've seen an X-Men character from the 20th Century Fox universe appear in a Marvel Studios film. Patrick Stewart appeared as Professor Xavier in a much larger role in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So if simply having an X-Men character appear in the franchise is what counts, it has actually already happened. We hope to see even more X-Men characters in Deadpool 3. But still, we hope to see many more characters linked to Deadpool 3, since Hugh Jackman, who once stated that he would never play Wolverine again, had already said goodbye and retired from the role that was possibly his most beloved and famous role ever. Already current, now it has simply returned. But wait, who made a statement explaining this? As soon as the proposal for the film arrived, I called Ryan Reynolds and said, "Let's do it." I didn't call anyone, not even my manager. I had to call later my manager and say, "Oh, by the way, I just committed to a film," said the interpreter of the most popular X-Men in an interview with the Rotten Tomatoes portal. So it seems like there are things that take time to get well done. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, there is the possibility of more X-Men appearing in the Deadpool 3 film, even if it is in a post-credit scene linking to a sequel or another film. However, all indications are that, just like the appearances of Professor Xavier and Beast, what we see in Deadpool 3 will be part of the larger multiverse saga, and so while we will see these characters, we probably won't see them in the timeline. Main character of the MCU, so the question is, when will this happen? When will the X-Men get their own MCU movie? Seeing the X-Men appear in the MCU is one thing, but when they will actually become part of it is a different matter. We can't expect the MCU's X-Men to be played by the same actors from the Fox franchise. So the question is, when will we see these characters? Based on the current schedule of upcoming Marvel movies, that doesn't seem likely to happen anytime soon. The rest of Phase 5 is very well scheduled, and Phase 6 is already set to pick up where it left off. There is a current gap of exactly 1 year between the two scheduled Avengers films, so we could see an X-Men film appear in between and introduce the MCU's X-Men in the same way that Captain Marvel appeared between the last two films of the MCU, Avengers. Of course, that puts an X-Men movie somewhere between late 2026 and early 2027, and I'm not sure a movie 3 years from now qualifies that early. And this assumes that the X-Men's membership in the MCU happens before the multiverse saga comes to an end. From a plot standpoint, it could be that the resolution of the multiverse is what brings the X-Men into the main continuity, meaning we might not see an X-Men movie until Phase 7. Based on the current schedule of upcoming Marvel movies, that doesn't seem likely to happen anytime soon. The rest of Phase 5 is very well scheduled, and Phase 6 is already set to pick up where it left off. There is a current gap of exactly 1 year between the two scheduled Avengers films, so we could see an X-Men film appear in between and introduce the MCU's X-Men, in the same way that Captain Marvel appeared between the last two films of the MCU, Avengers. That's where it comes in, and it fits as a point of theory for all of us here. Would it be possible to have an X-Men versus Avengers? In my opinion, yes, it is possible, mainly due to the film Captain America: Brave New World, which will be released on February 14th, 2025. The basis of the Captain America film is that over the course of the events taking place in the Disney Plus series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson has finally agreed to take on the mantle of Captain America. Donning an all-new vibranium suit that even allows him to fly, his next adventure will take him to theaters in Captain America: Brave New World. In this case, we will have Avengers: Secret Wars on May 7th, 2027. At this point, now we have to come to the world of comics, and we have the renowned Marvel comic, Avengers, versus in some form in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's understand what caused the fight between the Avengers and the X-Men. Basically, the Avengers were meddling where they shouldn't have been. Even though it takes place on Earth, Avengers vs. X-Men has a cosmic origin. In space, the Phoenix Force resurfaces and consumes a planet, and, seeing the power of the Celestial Force, Nova Sam Alexander warns the Avengers that the Phoenix Force is heading towards Earth. On the X-Men side, Cyclops continues training Hope Summers, a young mutant with the power to copy other abilities and who was created by Cable. Scott Summers believes she is the mutant messiah who will undo the events of the decimation that occurred in the pages of Dynasty M, the 2006 saga that ends with Scarlet Witch being driven to destroy most of the mutant population. After meeting with the American government, Captain America and Iron Man consult Wolverine about Hope and gather all the Avengers about their next mission, which causes Storm and Magnum to leave the team. When the Avengers arrive at Utopia, the island where several mutants lived before Krakoa, to take Hope into protective custody, a huge battle begins. When the Phoenix Force is about to arrive on Earth, after Wolverine tries to kill Hope and the Avengers fight the X-Men at the Jean Grey Institute for Gifted Youngsters, Iron Man creates an armor capable of killing the entity. A major battle takes place on the moon, and Tony Stark does not kill the Phoenix Force, but fragments it into 5 different pieces. When Hope Summers rejects joining the Phoenix Force, the entity unites her pieces with the other 5 mutants who were present at the scene. Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor, Colossus, and Magik become bearers of the Phoenix and the most powerful beings on Earth at that time. The Phoenix Quintet. Like the Phoenix Quintet, initially the mutants maintain order and peace in humanity. They end hunger, bring energy to the world, prohibit wars before the United Nations, and destroy all nuclear weapons and mass destruction they can find. The Avengers believe that at some point, any one of them could become a Dark Phoenix and destroy the world, so they invade the new Utopia to kidnap Hope again. There, after the fight between the Avengers and the Phoenix Quintet, Scarlet Witch appears and takes her team, along with Esperanza Summers, to Wakanda. With the powers of the Phoenix emerging and the disputes between the two teams becoming more serious, Namor destroys Wakanda in a great flood, but loses to the Avengers, and has his part of the Phoenix absorbed by the 4 remaining team members. While Esperanza trains with Iron Fist and Spider-Man and gets closer to Scarlet Witch, the battles between the teams escalate to the point that a large part of the X-Men stop supporting the Phoenix Quintet, as with the power coming from Namor, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Colossus, and Magik become increasingly cruel and unstable. After Colossus and Magik also lose their parts of the Phoenix Force, the Avengers and Esperanza fight against Cyclops and Emma Frost. But the White Queen is betrayed by her boyfriend when Scott steals the telepath's power to become the only wielder of the Phoenix Force and ends up once again with the Avengers. Well, with this information, that puts an X-Men movie somewhere between late 2026 and early 2027, and we can't be sure if a movie 3 years from now qualifies this early. And this assumes that the X-Men's membership in the MCU happens before the multiverse saga comes to an end. From a plot standpoint, it could be that the resolution of the multiverse is what brings the X-Men into the main continuity, meaning we might not see an X-Men movie until Phase 7. But, of course, these are speculations. I always had faith in the issue of having an adaptation with modifications of the Avengers versus X-Men comic in the MCU. Do you believe in this adaptation of the comic book into an Avengers versus X-Men film? Comment here, so I know. Anyway, that's about it. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and so you don't miss any videos related to our Marvel Universe. To the next. Bye.